Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me this afternoon for our webinar series. Today, I'll be talking about turning data accuracy and direct procurement into a competitive advantage. I'm Colby Young, VP of Alliances. I've been with SourceDay for about 8.5 years and really appreciate your time. I know it's an investment to give me 30 minutes to learn about how you really can change your direct procurement data to ensure that it really is a force multiplier for your business. I've been fortunate enough to support Infor clients for the last 8.5 years to realize the benefits of making sure that their entire procurement process is digitized, automated, and ultimately giving accurate data accuracy back into Infor. So we're going to dive in. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes here. This platform is very configurable, so you can kind of rearrange the screens however you want. There are some icons down there at the bottom where you can ask questions. Please take advantage of this. Ask me anything you want. Been with SourceDay for a while. I should be able to answer anything you ask me. You can also download these slides, so please grab those before you sign off. We will also be sending out a link to watch this webinar on demand. You can pass it around the organization to your colleagues. So please ask questions and we'll jump into it. So first, for the agenda here, I'm going to be talking about the necessity of accurate procurement data. I'm talking about the common data accuracy risks for manual processes. I'll be talking about on-time delivery specifically as a force multiplier to your business and how SourceDay solves data accuracy risk. Before we start, I do want to make sure you all know, if you don't already, that SourceDay is a new Infor solution provider. We've been supporting Infor clients for the last about 9-10 years that we've been a business. But earlier this year in April, we did become an official solution partner, which what that means is you now buy SourceDay via your Infor channel partner or through your Infor sales rep. So we are on Infor paper. We're supported by Infor. We have a very deep partnership now, so we're really excited about this and be able to make sure that you all know how you can turn data accuracy into a true competitive advantage. So let's first talk about the challenges that occur when you have manual processes through your supply chain, and specifically around managing what I'll call the purchase order lifecycle. So every purchase order is generated in your Infor ERP, and then it's managed with your supplier until the goods are received. That's kind of that life cycle I'm talking about. And when that's all manual, emails, spreadsheets, phone calls, it leaves opportunity, and the reality is there are data mistakes throughout that process. And I can tell you, been with SourceDay for 8.5 years, and we track all of this data. I promise you that purchase orders are changing. So we manage about 10 million purchase orders through SourceDay. 52% of them change. So either you need to change something or the supplier needs to change something. And they change on average 3 times. So this is a lot of change happening, all with manual process. And if those updates, dates, quantity, price, shipment detail, doesn't get back into your Infor ERP, now the rest of your organization might as well be flying blind, right? They're trying to make decisions of bad and incomplete data when you think about planning, scheduling, forecasting. If you're using MRP or APS, all of you are paying your vendors, so there's an AP process that have to match PO, receipt, and invoice. Your CFOs are trying to forecast inventory. All of this needs good, accurate purchase order data. And when it's all manual, those updates are not always getting back into the system. And when different operational divisions know that this data is questionable, they start to do things outside of this system. They start to make workarounds. They start to work more in Excel. They start to work more via email and messaging and trying to figure out what's going on, as opposed to living in the ERP and trusting the systems that they've invested in, right? They've invested in your Infor ERP. You need to trust and use that system and not be living outside with various manual workarounds. And all of this leads to lost time and lost profitability. Every time you do something manual and there's a data mistake, it takes time to fix that mistake, and it leads to additional costs within the organization that decreases your profitability, even puts revenue at risk when you don't know when items are going to arrive to be able to communicate to your customers, right? So these are all the challenges that you're faced with when you are trying to manage a bunch of vendors, a bunch of purchase orders with a whole bunch of change and make sure your ERP is accurate. So let's talk about how you solve these challenges. So first and foremost, you have to be able to have real-time updates into Infor as things change. That's the only way the rest of the organization is going to trust all the data and make sure your planning, scheduling, forecasting is all accurate. You have to be able to have visibility into what's happening across that purchase order lifecycle I mentioned. And really the only way to do this is with automation and digitization. You have to be able to digitize all of these steps to know where the change is happening and where the data mistakes could incur, and make sure that, again, that is digitized to have an audit trail of what's happening through every step of that process. And when you think about how am I going to even do that, right? The first step is thinking about, okay, I need to make sure that I have a seamless integration into my Infor ERP. However, I'm going to communicate to my vendors and make sure I have all this visibility, I need to be in perfect lockstep with my ERP. And it needs to be bilateral, right? You need to be able to pull information out of Infor systematically, automated, with all the data you need, and you need to be able to write information back into Infor where you need the information, the dates you need in there, in the right place at the right time. Without that, you do have no chance at having data accuracy improvements when you're trying to, again, manage complex supply chain. Talked a lot about digitization and the benefits of that, having an audit trail, knowing kind of where the offenders are, being able to grade your suppliers, having all the, again, the data to be intelligent, but it also needs to be centralized. When you think about how many people within your organization are relying on the supply chain being accurate. Again, I mentioned your CFO trying to do inventory projections. You have a head of supply chain trying to manage end to end, right? You have to have everything centralized to have the full visibility of what's going on within your organization. And until you have that centralized information, you're not going to be able to have the scale that you want within your organization, because you're going to be going to 10 different people and 10 different sources to get the information that you need. I have information in my email, another procurement person has information in their email, supplier sent a shipping report to a logistics person in their email, right? It's all disparate. Until you get that centralized, you cannot have proper data accuracy. Let's talk about event-driven updates. So probably everyone's familiar with the idea of manage by exception, right? You need to be able to run your day by focusing on the risk. Where do I need to spend my time and attention? If everything's good, we call it happy path. You get what you ask for, automate that, right? There's no reason that you need to go spend time when things are as expected. You need to go spend your time and attention when there are events happening that are going to affect your organization. And having a system that surfaces that to you, so you know exactly where to point your attention, is how you bring the efficiencies and you resolve problems in the appropriate amount of time to mitigate the risk. Process standardization. Again, think about how many people kind of have their finger in the pie of trying to manage supply chain and specifically direct spend procurement, right? You have all your buyers, you have managers, you have logistics folks, you have account managers trying to see what's going on so they can communicate to their customers, and you have dozens to hundreds to thousands of suppliers, and everything's doing process a little bit different. That is a bottleneck to scale, right? That's a bottleneck to business continuity. If everything's doing things a little bit differently, then you don't have a systematic approach to managing the purchase order lifecycle. And that leaves room for even more error of when is my data changing and how do I make sure that gets all back into the system? So you really have to standardize the process to make sure that this does not become a bottleneck to growth. And then task automation is I'll say the little bit of it, the cherry on top. So think about all the changes that happen and the data adjustments that need to occur back into the ERP, dates, quantity, price. But at the end of the day, it's just a 1 or 2 day change, right? Maybe it's a 10-cent price change. You don't really need a human looking at that. So having automation in place that can take changes that have no real impact your supply chain or business and automate that data into the ERP, right? That's kind of that nirvana state that you can get to where you are really only focused on the fire drills, which is where you need the brain power focused on. All right, so I've been talking a lot about purchase order lifecycle, right? And so let's kind of talk through that, what that actually means. So the purchase order lifecycle is the PO is generated in the ERP, and there are all these steps until the goods are received. And if you don't live procurement day to day, you might not realize or understand how many steps there are. And there is a lot, especially if you have longer lead times. And it's a little confusing that the purchase order lifecycle begins with a technology-driven automated process, right? You're Infor ERP. The PO begins in there, whether it's generated from MRP or APS or some different forecasting mechanisms, but that is automated and digitized. And then as soon as that PO is created and ready to go, all the digitization and automation stops. It now becomes manual, right? Infor can send the PO over to the vendor. Now this life cycle starts. There's acknowledgments, there's updates, there's expedites, there's partial shipments, there's advanced shipping notices, right? There's constant back and forth between your procurement team and your suppliers to manage that life cycle. The goods are received. Now there's receiving entry happening, and then your suppliers have to get paid. They have to match the PO, the receipt, and the invoice. All these processes are manual, and they're disparate, right? None of it's connected. None of it's centralized. It's all happening outside of your ERP. And at each one of these steps, there is risk and reality. There is data mistakes. I mentioned that 52% of all orders change. That's about 10 million purchase orders that go through SourceDay every year. They change on average 3 times. So the change is happening. And at every one of these steps, that change can occur and that data can then be outdated. As soon as that PO leaves your ERP and is sent over to the vendor, there's no more traceability except via email and spreadsheets, and maybe people are using WeChat for overseas suppliers. None of that feeds back into your Infor ERP. And at every one of these steps, there are changes happening, communication happening, and data being changed and manipulated that is not getting back into the ERP. And the reality is that at every one of those steps where change is happening and there are data problems, that is costing your organization not just time, but real money. Every time there's a change. If it's just a data mistake, right, it's costing time to go reconcile the invoice. Now maybe you're paying your supplier late. You can't take advantage of early payment discounting, right? Time and money. Every time that a purchase order is not acknowledged, that puts risk to it showing up on time. That is money to your business. Every time there's a change that doesn't get back into the system, now MRP is running off bad data, telling you to cut POs maybe at the wrong time or the wrong quantity. That is time and money to your organization. This is a very, very real problem that is literally costing organizations on the low end $500,000 up to $10 million a year. And this is us working with analysts and our customers really hone in on how big is the data accuracy problem when it comes to direct spend procurement. And the reality is, it is very, very big. And until you solve this problem, it will be a bottleneck to growth. And when you solve this problem, it will be a competitive advantage for your organization. So let's talk about how we do this. So SourceDay is now able to bilaterally integrate to any Infor ERP, whatever you're running. And we are able to pull those purchase orders into SourceDay, digitize them all down to the line level, and then we are providing suppliers what we call optionality to engage on every single order. So every order is pulled in, every order is standardized, every order is delivered to your suppliers, and then we let the suppliers communicate however they want. Every supplier is different. If they want to use email, great, got them covered. If they want to use a very robust portal, great, we have them covered. If they want to connect via EDI, great, we can do that as well. So we let the suppliers have optionality on kind of the technology thresholds they have to communicate on every order. But for you, it's one standardized, centralized process for every order and every supplier. That is giving you the visibility into everything that's happening within your supply chain. And then we are writing those updates back into your Infor ERP at the line level as change is happening. That is empowering MRP, APS, planning, scheduling, right? It's allowing your CFO to confidently forecast inventory. It's allowing your customers to confidently, your account managers or customer service folks to confidently communicate with your customers of when their items are going to arrive. And if something's going to be late, let them know about it proactively, right? These are the benefits of real-time accurate data from PO creation in the ERP until goods are received. The changes are constantly happening, and SourceDay is able to manage all of that and get it written back into your ERP on every order with every vendor. And when you have accurate data, the result of that is on-time delivery. And we have case study after case study with clients where they are seeing their on-time delivery improve as a result of SourceDay. And that on-time delivery ultimately is your differentiator in market and what's going to empower your business to grow faster and make more money. And it stems with accurate real-time data. So a statistic we actually have is that if a purchase order is acknowledged in SourceDay digitally and written back into the ERP as acknowledged, it's going to arrive on time 40% increased. That is a huge differentiator just from one step of the process, and that is real data out of SourceDay. 40% improvement in on-time delivery when purchase orders are confirmed and acknowledged and written back in to your ERP. So when you have better data, when you have things digitized and automated, your on-time delivery will go up with your vendors. And when your on-time delivery goes up with your suppliers, you now are able to accurately forecast revenue. You know when items are going to arrive, you have more predictability and throughput of your orders out to your customers. And at the end of the day, it allows you to serve your customers better. And that's what we're all trying to do, right? I am trying to serve my customers better. You, as Infor clients, you are trying to serve your customers better as supplying them, again, whatever product you're making or distributing. And at the end of the day, when you have better supplier on-time delivery, you have better customer delivery, your customer satisfaction will go up, you will retain customers, and you will grow your business. You also have improved operational efficiencies. You have better on-time delivery, your data is accurate, your MRP is running better, you have less fire drills, you have less production downtime, you have all the predictability. You can focus your employees' time, your purchasing team's time on better, more profit-driven activity. When you're not running around trying to update the ERP and chase vendors for acknowledgments and trying to hunt down my spreadsheet with all the changes, but instead, that's digitized, automated, and updated. Now you can focus on negotiating better pricing, do more vendor reviews with scorecard data, source new suppliers if you need to source new suppliers. These are things that are going to drive your business in a profit-driven way, as opposed to the tactical administrative data entry that isn't even getting done. So let your people focus on more profit-driven work with improved operational efficiencies. And at the bottom here, these are KPIs that we have, again, case study after case study, that are real results when you fix the data actually problem, when you automate and digitize, and provide your team and your suppliers with the solution to truly be in sync between procurement and suppliers. Again, mentioned you are now a better provider to your customer. 96% on-time delivery at outbound to customers. That is a differentiator in market. Reduced inventory by 22%. When you have more on-time delivery, you have a predictable supply chain, you can go look at buffer stock and bring it down a little bit, right? I'm not saying go just in time, but our clients are able to reduce buffer stock levels by 22%. That's less inventory on hand. That's more money the CFO can go invest in the business, and that is margins to the organization. Talked about increased buyer efficiency by 80%. Again, think about what the business can do with that activity focused elsewhere, as well as maybe you're in high growth mode. You don't need to add more headcount, right? Allow the organization to scale without more headcount. All of it is around fixing that critical problem of direct spend procurement data accuracy in your Infor ERP. So let's take it one step further. Everyone's hearing about AI and machine learning, right? It's the buzzword of the year. And SourceDay has introduced what we're calling SourceDay Intelligence that is able to use AI and machine learning in a very conscientious and responsible way, right? We're not putting chatbots all over the solution, right? What it is it's taking the data, which is now real-time and accurate and trustworthy, and we're able to identify risk proactively. We're able to use good real-time accurate information to show you, hey, there is a risk to lead time because we have the data to analyze that for you. Hey, there is a risk to this purchase order changing before it even changes because we can look at historicals and look at trends of what's happening to surface potential risk. And that's what's happening. We're surfacing the risk. We're not actioning anything. And we can actually recommend potential resolution. Again, not being action, but allowing your team to focus their time and attention on where the risk is to see, hey, do I need to go tackle this? Do I need to get on the horn with my supplier and talk about, hey, we might have a lead time issue. Let's talk about how we resolve this. And the only way you can do that, truly trust AI and machine learning with the recommendations it's providing, is if the data feeding it is right. And that is what SourceDay is able to do for you, is give you that accurate data so you can start to do some of this machine learning activities if you wish. And then lastly, the configurable thresholds for auto approvals. I mentioned all this change is happening, but if it's a 1 day, 2 day change, or a tiny price increase that has no impact to your business, we can start to recognize these trends and actually recommend, hey, let's set up an auto approval for some of these changes so you can go focus on the important things. If it has no material impact to your business, let's get the information into the ERP and you focus on what is going to impact your organization. So real customer case story. They've been a client on SourceDay for a long time. And this quote, I'm just going to read it because it resonates so well with what I've been talking about. Before using SourceDay, I'd get 40 to 50 emails a week from accounting asking if a price was right. Now I only get 1 to 2 from them a week. Now I can focus on taking care of the business, not taking care of the price. Again, the downstream impact of bad procurement data is all through the organization, including finance. And when we're able to eliminate 50 emails in a week, now that team can go take care of what's important, right? We reduced invoice reconciliation by 96%. We made the data accurate, and this client is realizing a 98% on-time delivery from suppliers. Almost perfect on-time delivery because they solve the root cause of data accuracy. To kind of wrap things up, because I did want to make sure we have plenty of time for Q&A, it is all about eliminating direct procurement risk. There is risk in the supply chain, there's risk in every business, and there is a ton of risk in managing your inbound inventory from all of your suppliers when it's done manually. When every step of that process after the PO is created in your ERP is manual, there is risk at every single step. So you must digitize and centralize that. You must give your procurement team and your suppliers automation to make sure that some of this becomes standardized so you can scale, to make sure that you and your suppliers on all your orders are actually synchronized. When you have that synchronization and the data is written back into your Infor ERP, now you're going to save money. Now you're going to grow your business. You're going to scale without needing more headcount and provide your team with the automation tools to be more profit driven, right? Automate the low and no risk tasks, right? Focus on what's important to the business and make sure that all that change is managed and written back into your ERP. So I know we have 4 minutes. I want to be respectful of everyone's day. I want to be open it up to Q&A here. Please try to stump me with any questions that you may have. I see one coming in here. We have, is there any cost to suppliers? And the answer is no. There's no cost to your supplier network. You invest in SourceDay, and we allow you to have as many users as you want in the system. And that also allows you to have your entire supplier network activated in those different engagement models that I mentioned. And we have that pricing model that way is again, the only way you're going to have full data accuracy on all your orders is to make sure all your suppliers are communicating and collaborating with you through that whole purchase order lifecycle. Let's see, we should have another one come in here. Is how do you actually calculate buyer efficiency? That's a great question. So we actually have a pretty robust return on investment tool where one whole piece of it is around that is, how many steps is it taking to manage an order? How many steps can be reduced? How long is it taking for your procurement team to truly do these steps and update back into the system? And what we are seeing is that we are reducing all of these manual steps by about 80% by providing automation and focusing their time and attention where they need to, right? They stop spending their time trying to figure out where's the risk. We put it right in front of their face. So we have 2 minutes left. I'm Colby Young, colby.young@sourceday.com. If you want to reach out to me, happy to chat with you more. Reach out to your Infor rep, reach out to your Infor channel partner. We will get you all the information you need, answer your questions. Would love to talk to you more about your business and how we can fix the data accuracy problem and truly bring on-time delivery improvement that is that force multiplier differentiator in market. So I'll hang on for another minute. Really appreciate everybody. Have a great rest of your day and hope to talk to you soon.